as I started working with this topic for today, this idea of our soul signature being sort of embodied in our roller coaster ride of life, I thought, okay, so my job is to find who I am at the core of my being, my most authentic, my most unique expression of my humanity within this, divine. We're all divine, right? That's what we really are. But then we walk around in our humanness, and so I got to figure out what are my soul qualities that I'm bringing into life, like Glenda said, the kindness, the love, whatever that is. But really, it's based on how well I embrace the unfolding stuff of my life in every moment. Every single moment, I'm at a choice point for how this roller coaster of life is going to show up for me. And actually, at one level, I have a big problem with this metaphor of a roller coaster ride. Because, you know what? I have a challenge. We were in a group the other day, and the person says, don't ever use the word problem. Use the word situation or challenge. So I have a challenge with this idea of roller coasters because I avoid them at all costs. Not because I'm afraid, but because I have motion sickness that is fierce. No matter what. It doesn't matter. I threw up all over Portugal and Spain and Italy and Puerto Rico. It doesn't matter. I don't do that kind of thing. And so then I started thinking about it. It's not that I'm afraid so much as I need, as my soul signature, I need to be aware that I am a spirit. I have a mind. And guess what? I got a body. And my body sometimes does not cooperate. Anybody else relate to that? I am body, mind, spirit. And for me, my body can't handle the roller coaster movement, you see. And so actually it's a good metaphor for me to work with because it challenges me to discover who I am at the core of my being. See, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this idea of discovering our soul signature. So I got to be willing to embrace who I am. Who I am is a car sick, motion sick person. As I am. I got to embrace that. I have to be humble enough, and that's a soul quality, that's part of my soul signature, not to judge myself because I keep getting sick every time I'm in a moving anything. Sometimes I get sick when I'm driving myself. It's bad. I got to be authentic enough to be able to... Now, I'm using this idea of being car sick, right? This motion sickness. But I'm inviting you to look at what it is in your own life where you can be humble enough not to judge yourself for whatever that thing is. Yes, yes. Not to judge myself. Because you know what? I figured out something. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. And me getting on a roller coaster and throwing up is not, what's that going to prove? It doesn't prove anything to anybody. So, and this is my soul signature, I choose to be grounded. I choose to stand on the ground. I choose not to engage in the drama of that roller coaster experience that makes me sick. Now, if I take that metaphor and move it into my life experience as a whole, that's a practice, a spiritual practice. I choose to try to stay grounded, to stay calm, to stay present, to stay out of the white knuckle throwing up places, right? The drama places, so that I can be available to embrace life on life's terms as it is in the moment. That's my practice, you see, to go with the flow. That's a soul signature for me. Go with the flow. Don't push the river. Don't push the river. And this is where we get to demonstrate our spiritual mastery, you see. When we look at these roller coaster experiences, for me it's this motion sickness, we get to choose. How do we want to go through life, see? To experience, I can squeeze all the joy I want out of life if I go back to the opening reading. And I don't need to get on that roller coaster. I don't need the drama to have the joy. Is that making sense? So this whole idea of this kind of roller coaster, calls me to examine my own soul signature in a different way. But I do pretty well with looking at this roller coaster ride at a practical level. This I get. Not the actual level, but the practical level. Because I'm really good talking about chaos. I'm really good talking about uncertainty because I know about that. Yes? I know about those times when we're just holding on for dear life. Yes. And we're at those choice points. So when we look at that, we look at how do we use everything that comes to us on this roller coaster of life as an opportunity for us to demonstrate our spiritual mastery, to bring forth those qualities of our own soul that we have been cultivating. How do we relate to these uncomfortable things that go on in the world? How do we relate to the difficulties? How do we practice our spiritual mastery when there's chaos going on and we've got these difficult, dense vibrations of emotions and feelings that are, sort of winding themselves through all of these experiences? How do we do that? How do we maintain this sense of openness in these experiences when everything is going wacky? Well, Pema Chodron says in her wonderful book, Comfortable with Uncertainty, we stick with it. We just relax, we breathe, we be calm, we be cool. We relax, we breathe, we be calm, we be cool. The roller coaster is going to keep going, but if we could slow down enough to just be present with whatever that thing is, with the experience as it is, with the myriad of feelings that we have weaving themselves through this experience, whatever it is, fear, anger, frustration, disappointment, whatever those feelings are, and just open up and relax with whatever is happening, then we discover who we really are at the soul level within that experience, you see. So, David, go to the next slide. So yesterday, it's raining, big rain. Anybody have big rain? It was wonderful, yes. However, yesterday my husband decided it was a great day to do some remodeling in my kitchen, right? Well, that's okay. However, right in the middle of his, putting down the drop cloths, getting out the shop vac and all this stuff, we had a downpour that I could not believe. It was fierce, right? So it's raining, literally cats and dogs, and at my house that would be the case. Raining cats and dogs, and we look out into the backyard, and our swimming pool is about ready to overflow. The drains in the decking around the swimming pool cannot handle the volume of water, so now the water's rising, and it looks like it's going to flood into the house, which it has before. We notice that the dogs are sitting out in the rain like they have no sense, right, to go under a canopy. They are soaking wet, just sitting there shivering. They're soaking wet. My husband is getting more and more agitated. Then he looks out into the east wing of the house, and there's a window that's wide open, and the water is pouring into my daughter's part of the house. And so we've got all this stuff going on. And then he runs out to open up. Now I'm talking about the roller coaster of life. He runs out to make sure the pool doesn't overflow, so he does something to the stuff. The pool starts to drain. But then I notice that my shower, which is a sunken shower, starts filling up with sewer water. And then the toilet starts filling up. And I'm going, oh my God! And then, so we put the dogs away, and I'm running around getting towels. But what I discovered is, as I'm working with this, my capacity to bring forth my soul signature, which is to be calm, to be present, to be relaxed, at least on the surface, to breathe, calmed my husband, who is none of that, right? He's a very animated soul. And so we got all this handled, right? And we started working on the glass block, and of course nothing to do but one of them explodes and it goes all over. Big mess. I was supposed to have breakfast with my mom, had to reschedule that to a late lunch. Okay, what I found out about myself in this experience is that at a soul signature level, this roller coaster, this crazy experience with the rain and all this stuff that happened, and it all took place in about 15-minute time frame. Yeah? You know how that works. I found out that at the level of soul, I can be kind. Now, I got to pay attention, and I have to have an intention. But I recognize myself being kind, being patient, being creative in figuring out this problem solving here, being loving, being courageous, trusting that everything was going to be okay. These are soul qualities that if we're quiet enough to well, I'm doing a pretty good job here in the midst of this mess. See, this is the idea when we're in these roller coasters. So what's going on for you? What's going on for you where you feel like you're spinning out of control? Because what I know about this idea of roller coaster living, we don't get to pick and choose how it shows up. Have you noticed how that works? We don't get to pick and choose. We cannot control the uncontrollable. I can't control how smart those dogs were. I couldn't control the rain. I couldn't make it stop so that my house didn't flood and my pool didn't overflow. I couldn't control any of that. I couldn't control my beautiful husband's sort of agitated way of handling things. I couldn't control any of that. But what I could control is how I showed up. How I showed up. Most of us are control freaks in one way or another. Isn't that the truth? We want to control everything. You know why? Because it makes us feel safe. We want to micromanage everything. What I found out is that rarely works. That rarely works. So the trick is, how can life fall apart all around us in all these different ways, whether we're talking about, our bank accounts or our bodies or our relationships or whatever it is. How can life fall apart all around us? Like Glenda was talking about the ride with Fred. Well, there were highs and lows, and you know what? We were still at common ground during that time frame. Well, we were at common ground during that time frame. She did her job. She came to common ground. She was a minister here, and Fred was dying. And she was able to let life fall apart all around her, but she didn't fall apart. This is it. So how do we do that? She mentioned we have courage. We just have courage. We know that somewhere in this big mess, we're going to make it through. We trust that we're going to make it through. See, courage is not synonymous with the fearless. That's not what courage is. Courage is having the fear and moving through it. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, we have all of these fears in life, and if we've got the courage to be calm enough to be with the uncertainty, to be with whatever's going on, that big mess at the time, we can cultivate the capacity to actually enjoy the ride of life, be fully awake, fully alive, right there in that. Because you know what? That's the moment that we have. Do we have any other moment but the one we're in? No. If we mess that up, guess what? We've missed it. We've missed it. How do we do it? Here's your invitation. Simply allow whatever is to be as it is. You don't have to like it. I don't like getting motion sick. I don't like it at all. But I'm not going to judge it, and I'm not going to make myself bad for that, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm just going to work with it. I'm just going to bear witness to that thing and say, you know what? Roller coasters are not for me. I'm staying grounded. You know what? Drama's not for me. I'm staying grounded. Because these are the things that push us to demonstrate our spiritual mastery. These are the things that push us to find who we really are at the core of our being, to get quiet enough to recognize that. Did you ever want to pat yourself on your back when you make it through one of these experiences? Did a pretty good job. I made it through. That's what we're called to do here, you see. Remember the truth. I love what Deepak Chopra says. All this stuff that's happening to us and in the world and all around us, guess what? And I'm not indicating that we're victims to any of this. It's just as it is. It just is. It just is. It's not personal stuff, right? It just is happening, right? This is the deal. Deepak Chopra says, and I believe this is true, this stuff isn't just happening to people, to a person. It's happening to souls. We're all together on a soul journey. We're all together in this human walk in the world, and we're all together on this path of finding out who we are at the level of soul. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is awesome. Each one of us is a radiant divine being. Each one of us has a unique soul signature. And guess what? We get to discover that for ourselves through all of these ups and downs and twists and turns and curves that life wants to throw at us. Thank you for listening.